Hello, my name's Steve Jordans, and along with Dwayne Paré, I'm one of the co-creators of peerScholar. The purpose of this video is to give you a sense of what a peerScholar assignment is like, because it's a little different from some of the other assignments you've done. So really what I'm going to do here is just walk you through the process in a hopefully very quick and efficient way. And in a subsequent video, I'll be explaining to you a little bit more the learning theory behind what we're doing. But for this video, I'm going to stick mostly just to what you're going to be expected to do and how it's all going to work. So to begin with, you go to www.peerscholar.ca and then just enter your username and password and log into the system. When you get into the system, you will see a dashboard, first of all, that'll just include any announcements from your teachers and a calendar that shows you upcoming assignments and the phases that are due in those assignments. Also, across the top, importantly, you will see a list of any courses that you are registered in that are using peerScholar this term, and so they'll be listed just across the top as you see here. But the real purpose of this video is to give you a sense of how an assignment works. So I'm going to go into one of these classes, and when you go into the class, if there's an assignment, you will see what we call an assignment bar right here. And that assignment bar has 4 steps, 3 of which you are expected to do, and then 1 where you can log in after your teacher or teaching team have assessed your work to see the assessments they've given. To some extent, a peerScholar assignment has a traditional essay assignment component, but with a lot more stuck in the middle. So specifically, in a first phase, you will be asked to complete some assignment as per your teacher's specifications, and then after a while, you will get feedback on how you did. But in between, you will be asked to both assess the work of your peers and to help them improve on their work, and you will also see the assessment that your peers gave to you, and you will be given the opportunity to revise your work in accord with those suggestions to make it better. So that's what I really want to walk you through today. I'm going to go pretty quick through the first phase. Through the first phase, really the first phase is just about doing the assignment. So you will see the assignment your professor gave you, along with any specific tips for this phase. And then really your task is just to complete the assignment. So you go, by the way, the assignment is always available. If your professor has included a rubric, that's also available. And perhaps your professor included a graphic organizer to help you kind of organize your thoughts. If so, that's there as well, and they'll be present all the way through. But again, important thing, read the instructions and tips, then move on to the actual create step, where if it's a written assignment, as it is in this case, you literally perform the assignment. You can also, by the way, write it in, say, Microsoft Word and paste it in here too, and all your formatting will hold, or you can do your work within this browser window, whatever you prefer. You may also be asked to do a self-assessment, assess the quality of your work using some scale that your teachers provided, perhaps a star scale like you see here. But again, really, in this first phase, it's just about reading the instructions and submitting your assignment. It gets interesting in the next 2 phases. In the second phase, what you're going to be asked to do is to assess the work of a subset of your peers. So you begin again with some instructions and tips, but this is where the action really happens in the second step of this phase. Here what you see are assignments submitted by, in this case, 3 peers. One of the things I want you to notice is that there's no identifying information on this. So these assignments are selected randomly from the class and they're presented anonymously. The idea here is that you read each of these assignments, think about them, try to figure out why some assignments seem good, why some aren't so good. Along the way, by the way, your assignment is always here, so if you want to think about your assignment at the same time, you can do so. But ultimately, you want to then, for each assignment, respond to the things your professor has asked you to do. And those typically include things like the following: rating the quality, how strong do you think this assignment is, providing a positive comment, what's something this person's already doing quite well, and most critically, really, giving the student a strong sense of how they could improve their work. And I often put it this way to my students: if there's one thing this person could do that you think would make the biggest improvement in their work, what would that one thing be? And so to describe that as well as you can to this person. And you would do that for each of the peers presented. So for each one, you could present different comments on the bottom here. Now you can also produce inline comments simply by selecting something and then adding a comment about that. So this allows you to do much more specific comments if you want, in combination with the general comments at the end. Okay? So this is the really important thing, giving your peers advice on how to improve. You may also, again, be asked to think about your own work fresh after viewing your peers' works and assessing what you now think the quality of your own work is. Okay? That's the second step. That's the peer assessment. Once that's complete, you'd enter the third step, and the third step is where you get to see the comments that your peers gave to your work. So as you were assessing, say, three peers were also assessing your work. So you again start with the instructions and tips that your professor provided, but critically you will come to a page that looks like this, where you will have tabs for each of the peers, but now this is your work, and if you go to the bottom, these are the comments that this particular peer made to your work. And what we really want you to do here is think about these comments deeply and think about whether you think they really would improve the work or not, and then give this peer a rating in terms of how useful you found their comments. Did you find their comments useful, very useful, etc.? Just to give the peer a sense of what you thought of their comments. Okay? And that's the main thing, to go through this and to think about how you could improve your work. Again, your work is always there, so you can look at it, but of course it's here with each of the peers' work as well. Now, it may be the case that the process stops here for some of you, but for most, you will be given a few other options, and one is to actually revise your work in light of these comments. So you've just gotten some advice about how you can improve, and so now you can literally try to improve your work. Incorporate some of those comments, make your work better. Okay, and so you begin by just getting your original work here in this window, and you can now edit away any way you want. Okay. Now, once you do that, you may also be asked to reflect on the changes you made, to kind of sit back and think about why you found some feedback really useful and others not so useful, and just to think about that whole process a little bit more deeply. And finally, you may be again asked to self-assess. In this case, if you're asked two questions. What rating would you give your original assignment, and what rating would you give your revised assignment? So this is to get you to think a little bit on, whether it's improved. And by the way, your original assignment is here, should you want to see it. Your revised assignment is also there. Okay, so you have that available. And that's really the things that you have to do. Submit an assignment, assess your peers, and then see the feedback your peers gave to you and reflect on it, and potentially revise your work. At some point after that, it will go on to the professor and the teaching team, who will then provide their evaluation of your work, and you'll be able to see that evaluation eventually by clicking here. You'll also have access to everything that happened at every step in the process. Okay, so that's really what makes a peerScholar assignment different, is that you have this real step where you first have to do this by a certain due date, then this by another due date, then this by a third due date. But I hope you see that there's a whole lot happening in between here, and in fact in a subsequent video I'll talk about that in a lot more detail. Okay? Enjoy your assignment. Thank you.